So as far as exploiting obvious value is concerned, and in the last section, I just talked about whether or not we're looking to see if your business has functional value, your product or service has functional value, or it's an emotional value that you can focus on to push and propel your product out there. Whether or not you need to either create that or identify that. Maybe your product is a functional product and you now need to think about how you can make it, you can drive in emotional value so that you're accessing a different buyer group. Kind of like how that Dyson vacuum cleaner is being sold. It's very functional, very good at what it does. They made it all colorful and they marketed it in such a way, very similar to how Apple market their products. And they were basically getting people to buy it for emotional reasons. So what we're going to look at is another layer to that, which is buyers' perceptions of value. And what does that really home in on? Well, it really homes in on what the purpose of that product is. Purpose. Hope you can see that. What's the purpose? I mean, when it comes to buying a vacuum cleaner, that's the purpose. You know, you need one because you're trying to clean the place. You're trying to figure out whether or not you want one that's for your home or one that's for industrial use and that sort of thing. And what Dyson did was they figured out how to make you buy it through an emotional response. They want you to like what you saw. They created advertisements for you to do that. Now, the other layer is an example that I'm thinking about sharing with you is I'm going to really bring it into this little room that I'm standing in right now. And that is this training course. Look, I'm talking into a camera. Okay. I have lights either side of me and I have a board here that I'm writing on. These are the tools I'm currently using. This is what I'm currently needing to produce this course. Or is it? Is it really what I need? On one side, the products that are available to me are the cameras. So if you're selling a camera, you've got all the competition that surrounds cameras. You've got the Canon cameras, you've got the Sony cameras, the Nikon and the various others, and you can start qualifying them based on their specs and deciding to choose whichever one you want. And the deeper you go down that rabbit hole, the more expensive they get, right? You get into the red cameras and you're looking at $50,000 plus. So you're thinking, wow, do I need that? I'm just doing a training course in a small room with soundproofing and that kind of thing so I don't disturb the neighbors. Is there a real requirement for me to have the best of the best camera in this situation? The question is how are you going to compete in that market if you are a camera producer? Equally, what about lighting? Right? What about the mics that I'm using? What about this board that I'm using? The whiteboard or the digital board? Actually, I'm going to make a point about that in a second. The purpose here is really me taking my information and trying to structure it in a certain way and deliver it to you in a way that I think you're going to be able to absorb it, right? That's all the purpose is. The purpose is for me to basically produce some training material that's going to be valuable to you. So these are the products that are currently being served to me. But what are the alternatives? And that's the trick here. It's to look for the alternative products or services within to serve a certain purpose. Okay. So in this case, what would the alternative be? I wish we had a group here of people so I could actually ask and wait. Fact is, I'm just going to just tell you. The alternatives to this would be, well, I could have just as easily taken all these slides, pre-written everything into these slides, and I would have had them displayed on a laptop or a computer and used a screen recorder as I slowly go through each slide and literally read off paper. Probably would have been able to deliver this information in a more articulate way had I done that, but I chose to do the video format. I wanted to get in front of the camera. I just wanted to do something the way I wanted to do it. So I chose this route. But the alternative to serving the same purpose would be to use a screen recorder, probably a laptop, and a mic. They both serve the same purpose. That's the alternative to these products. So if you're thinking about breaking into a certain market, because that purpose is the market, right? This will be the market. It's how are you going to serve that customer, that buyer group, those customers, that market? Are you going to serve them with these types of products? Are you going to serve them with those types of products? Are you going to serve them with something else? And I mean, it's a very, very, very interesting. This can get, it really is something that I would love for you to tell me what business you have and what products you are thinking of creating in the market that you're expecting to to sell them within. And then we can look at what the alternatives are to what you're selling and see if we can bring in some of those features and benefits to what you're doing. And that allows you then to attack a different buyer group or go find a larger market segment. That's what this kind of thing is. And a good example of that would be, by the way, this board, this digital board. It's made by Samsung. This isn't a plug. I'm not sponsored by anything, by the way. This is a Samsung digital board. I've always been using whiteboards. And so Samsung, they produce phones as well, right? They make cell phones, the Galaxies and whatnot. So they've got touch screen pretty down to a T. They know how to do that. And of course they do TV screens. We all know Samsung TV screens, right? So this is a company that's producing products, electronics to serve, people who want to watch TV and people who want to use their phones. So they're interacting and that sort of thing. And they had some interactive elements to them. And they've got these new cool TVs now that are like OLED or Kirby's, whatever. So if you look at that as an example, you've got the screens that are flat, then you've got you've got these kind of curvy screens. And then, the next thing up is people are talking about these goggles that you can wear where you can look through virtual reality and that kind of stuff or watch movies in that way. Well, that's where all the competition's focus is on right now. You look at Apple TV, you look at Sony, they're all focused there. So what have Samsung done? They will have tapped into a separate market using their product and making a slight change to it. They're looking at something that's their TV, and they've said, okay, well, we can slap the touch screen capabilities on the TV, which is essentially what this is. It's a TV with a touch screen element on top, and it allows me to do things that I couldn't do before. For me to have a sort of a slide like this or an image like this and then draw on top, I'd have to have it projected onto a wall or a whiteboard and then be able to draw on it. I'd have to have two things and it wouldn't be a cool setup. This is a lot more seamless. And it allows me to, change colors of different things and be able to interact with the board in a certain way so I can deliver information quickly. That's them literally looking at what are the alternatives out there? What are other people looking to do when it comes to TV screens? You go to boardrooms and you see them, they have these TV screens on the wall and they plug their laptops in and they're going through these slideshows and people are presenting based on, on what's on the board, but they're not able to interact with it. So they're basically looking at, so what's the alternative to that? The alternative to that would be just have a whiteboard, right? So what they've done is they've kind of augmented their product to serve that market. The people who want, like me, who like to draw stuff on a board to make a point, they're able to now tap into that market, that other buyer group, by basically changing because they've looked at the alternatives out there. So that's an important point to make. I do want you to think about that. The next sections are going to be how we basically break that down and actually implement it with your business. So I look forward to seeing you in the next section.